Hey guys, just gonna get on here. I don't know if I can do a video later on this week or not, and I haven't done one in the last couple weeks. What's up, Mr. Dawn? Been sick since Christmas. Then I got a sinus infection in January, and I still got phlegm. Seems like upper respiratory type deal. Phlegm gets stuck in there and makes me cough. Try to get it out and feel fine other than that. And of course it affects my voice. So I wake up coughing, trying to get my phlegm out of my chest. It's weird. Doesn't really feel like it's in my chest. It just feels like it's kind of right there on the top. So I don't know if it's lingering side effects of the sinus infection or if I still got one or what. Try to get in later this week and check it out. So, you know, I've been pretty busy, you know, with these last two tournaments. Matter of fact, just got home probably about 4 or 5 hours ago. So most stuff I just left in my truck. I'm leaving next like Monday, Sunday or Monday. I haven't decided. Trying to get everything done. I got to get new tires on the truck tomorrow. Got almost 69,000 miles on my truck since a year and a half. So feel fine, Kevin. Just trying to get that phlegm to go away. So, went and took Delta out for a walk earlier. Haven't seen her in a couple weeks. Now she's down here begging for food. Trying to get on. I got a bunch of stuff I gotta get caught up on. A bunch of stuff in the works. I'm really hoping to get rid of this phlegm stuff. I mean, it's kind of annoying having to cough all the time and my voice not sounding right. Especially I got to call a bunch of bait shops this week. Try to get HH into them. I really need to try to get Crappie Monster and Pro Tough baits in them too. But trying to get my my other screen up. There we go. What's up, Roy? Yeah, so first two tournaments of the year so far is one was a new format and one was a new trail, I guess you can call it. I mean, a lot of the same fishermen. So I'll start off first trail ACT. The new format, I've said it many times, I love that format. A lot of bass fishermen don't like the MLF. I actually like watching it. It's entertaining to me. There's a lot more action. You know, I mean, I remember watching Bassmaster a few times, and yeah, you sit there and just watch it for like hours and hours and not see somebody catch a fish. And then when somebody does catch a fish, you got to see it on replay because, of course, they weren't live on that angler at the time. So, I I like the catch, weigh, and release. It's pretty exciting. You still got to use some kind of tactics, but as we saw, kind of with how how everything panned out, it was pretty much who could catch the most fish is how the results ended up being. There was a couple spots where, 3 or 4 fish difference. The team that caught less actually weighed more. Now it's like us, we had a pretty good average compared to the rest of the teams. But we ended up finishing 6th. Darbone's always been hit or miss for me. Of course, I couldn't get down except for I got 4 hours of pre-fishing. We went with the first spot, which turned out pretty good for day 1. Kind of wish we'd have went where we ended day 2. I kind of wish we'd have started over there, or at least left earlier from our spot that we started in the morning. But we didn't. That's how it goes, and that's how you end up not getting in the top 5. So we got 6 there, and then of course Crappie Masters Elite. So I drove up to Batesville, got my crappie brakes worked on and fixed, and then on my way back, I'm hearing all these rumors about Cross Lake getting closed, trying to find a different place to fish. And then by the time I get down there, actually Eric Howard, once we found out it was Red River, he got us cabins there at Red River Marina. So I actually ended up driving there instead of the house that we had rented at Cross Lake. And was that Monday? So next morning, pre-fishing started on the Red River. And 3 days of pre-fishing was miserable conditions. Okay, cold and rain. This was not fun. Fish were not reacting to anything. Yeah, figures, Kyle. JoJo, I think some of it had to do, I think a lot had to do with the sun. But I think another thing was the spot we were in. Of course, we only caught 1 2-pounder. But I think we had a bunch of fish that it was only us and Clay Gann and Todd Froby were in the area. And we actually came in behind them and went to the left of them and stayed out of their way. And we had some fish suspended that wouldn't bite. And we kept going and ran into this underwater tree row, or a group of trees. And we started getting them left and right, and just slowly but surely. I mean, we moved Friday. We moved a little bit before noon and worked our way back in this area. And I mean, we had 1 or 2 fish. At 12:14, I sent up an update. We had 489 on 4 fish. At 12:22, I sent like 3 or 4 updates starting at 12:22, but 4 fish, 489 at 12:14. At 12:46, I sent an update. We had 7 fish for 1080 something. And I mean, those fish were just loaded. And I don't know what happened day 1 with Clay and them, but I don't know if they just couldn't get them to bite, or if they were more in the area we were in than what they did. But we both weighed close. Well, I think we weighed 1262 and Clay weighed 12 something. But no, we went through open area, couldn't get the fish to bite at around 12. Caught those fish in the trees, and then we actually left at 2:30 because we were down south and we didn't know how long it'd take us to get back. And we ran through this open water again where they weren't biting. And we upgraded 2 130s with a 170 and a 2-pounder with 10 minutes to go. Or within 10 minutes. And then it was like 2:30 and I was like, well, let's leave and try to get back. Thinking back now, I think because day 2 we didn't leave till 2:45. We probably could have left at 3, especially on day 2. But I kind of wish we'd at least waited till 2:45 on day 1, because I mean we hit those 2 fish and they bit, I mean, back to back. There was a bunch of open water, 10 foot. I think if we'd have rolled through there another 15 minutes, we could have probably caught another 2-pounder or 170, and that would have gave us enough for at least 5th place. But you know, that's the way it goes. But we mainly just had to hold it on their nose. Tried different things. You know, I tried shaking my rod. You know, not jigging it, but just shaking it to try to get that bait. You know, just going like that, trying to get that bait just to flutter some. It was kind of weird day 2. I mean, I think we probably caught 50 fish on day 2. We caught a lot on day 1 because, like I said, as we were upgrading in that from 12 to 2:30, you know, I mean, we were throwing fish back, calling out, you know, we called quite a bit of our fish throughout the day. I think we probably caught 25 fish day 1. I'd say at least 50 fish day 2. Because we had, I think we had 11:55 by noon on day 2, and we only upgraded like 0.2 something. So, and I mean, we caught a lot of fish afternoon too. But yeah, I don't know. We had a lot of fish that when I had my poles down and I was trying to swing my boat around, I think that it spooked a lot of fish. So, you know, there's a lot of people talking about that they could do everything and the fish wouldn't move. Where we were fishing at, those fish would move. And so I think they were just probably a little bit more active. The water's still muddy, but I think we kind of had a cut. You know, it's kind of a high spot before it opened back up. So I don't know if that kind of calmed the water down some. I think there was current pulling out day 1. Well, I think it was kind of messing with my boat a little bit, trying to get in position. But when you're fishing through a lot of dang trees too, I mean, it's hard. And we hit so many trees. I broke one of the blades off of one of my trolling motors on the back. Usually, you know, working your way up to a fish on a piece of timber and the paddles would get stuck or the boat would go up on a stump. And usually you're like 2 feet away and you're trying to get the boat off of this whatever it's stuck on. Try to ease up on this fish. But I really feel that we probably had, I'd say we had at least 15 pounds in the area. I mean, obviously Clay and them caught 12 something, and it wasn't a big area. So, you know, you take some of his fish, give them to us, or some of our fish, give it to him, and, you know, you're talking 14, 15 pounds probably. And, you know, we had our opportunities. We had, you know, some giants, I feel, that got off. I mean, you never know because you didn't get them in the boat, but or that some of them just get our bait down in there and they turn around, you know, somehow, you know, they got spooked or whatever. You know, I feel the area we're in down south, the fish were a lot more spookier than up there in Pool 5. But considering we had one fish right before noon, now I'll take 6th place all day long. I don't know. I don't know if it was luck or just sun came out. We obviously ain't in the right position or right place at the end of day one. So I consider that a little bit of luck. A little bit of making the right calls at the right time. I mean, once we got in the area, I was wanting to try to get those suspended fish to bite. And Cliff said, no, let's go up a little bit further and see what's up there. And that's when we ran in those underwater trees. And it paid off. And then, you know, I think near the end of the day, Cliff wanted to stay in those trees and try to upgrade. Because we didn't make that much of a pass through there. And I said, well, I want to check to see if these big fish are out here roaming again. And it paid off because we, you know, upgraded pretty much a pound in 10 minutes. You know, get rid of those 130s with a 170 and a 2-pounder. So, we actually a little over a pound. And then day 2, obviously, I don't know what to do. You know, I didn't know what to do after noon because, I mean, I know what I wanted to do. I wanted to fish where Clay and them were at. And, actually, we probably had an opportunity to go up in that area when they had left for a little bit. But we didn't do it. We probably could have left and checked some other stuff kind of like it. There was another pocket that we passed that a boat was in there both days that we went by it. I was familiar with it from Mr. Crappie. I think we probably, you know, could have tried in there. And I went through there a little bit and didn't see no fish pre-fishing. But I'm sure there was fish in there if there was fish back there where we found them. But it was weird. JoJo, because, yeah, I was using a natural colored bait. I cut it down to about 1 inch, and I was using an unpainted 16-ounce Mad Crappie jig Shankenstein. So I mean that profile was probably 1.25 inches. You know, not that big a profile width-wise either. And that seemed to be a good ticket on day 1. And on day 2, there was a lot of fish wouldn't hit it, and then Cliff was using I think he was using one of his 1/4 ounce pink heads, Bombus jig heads with a 1 3/4 inch Pro Tough bait in black and chartreuse, and he caught a lot of fish on that on Saturday. But yeah, JoJo, I mean, shoot, there was plenty of fish that we got a reaction on, and it was not a good reaction. It was swimming away. I think we scared probably 20 fish just trying to get turned enough to get the bait in there. You know, I mean, you know, we're hitting them at an angle, and you know, you don't know if you got your bait close enough to them or not. So what you really want to do is try to get that nose pointed right at them. You know, I'm pretty good at fishing off to the side, but when they're not reacting, you know, you start losing confidence if you're really on that fish or not. And I don't know if trying to turn the boat while you're trying to fish for them, if that scared them, but we spooked off quite a bit of fish that way. You know, a lot of fish they got spooked by the boat and would start swimming off. Some of them, I think, got spooked by the bait or just didn't want the bait and just trying to get away from it. So that's why I think I'm pretty sure we could at least caught 14 pounds every day. I think we'd have had in the 13s for sure, just due to not fishing for a while. I mean, you know, I hadn't fished for 10 weeks before I went to Darbone, and you know, my execution's been horrible in the last couple of weeks. But doesn't matter what I think I could have caught or what I've seen. We caught what we caught and ended up in 6th place out of 46 of some of the best anglers in the country. So it got us a paycheck and kept us in there in the running for Angler Team of the Year. So I can't complain. Thank you, Scott. I'm showing all the comments. Thanks, Justin. Yeah, I mean, JoJo, I think, I don't know. Would have been nice to keep track, but we were probably close to 50% of fish we dropped on reacted or bit. I mean, we lost some good fish. Either just missed the hook set or come off. You know, I think a lot of those bigger fish just weren't really interested. They acted like they were going to hit it good. But, I mean, there was a time, I don't remember what day. I don't know if it was Saturday morning or Friday afternoon, but there's time those fish were just freaking, they were zooming after that bait. I mean, there's a few fish that I caught because I couldn't see my bait. And it was because that fish had come up. I mean, zoomed up, hit the bait, and kept going. And you see my sinker there. And then you see nothing here, and the fish is up here. And I just hook set it and caught the fish. But you know, it was night and day from pre-fishing, that's for sure. I mean, literally tried catching fish and caught 5 fish in 3 days of pre-fishing. Well, we pre-fished Thursday. We're hating them fish, and we didn't spend that much time in there because we saw there was 10 boats when we fished it Thursday, and that was probably the worst pre-fishing day. And I was feeling miserable. I didn't see hardly that much. Where I was scanning through, you know, I really didn't go through the trees that well. But I just saw all those boats, and I knew a lot of them were going to fish that area. So we went with the area I caught 2 fish on Wednesday. And that didn't work out from that area. Because like I said, we only caught 1 fish there. But, you know, Wednesday I hit 130 something and a 169 back to back, suspended round bait fish. Friday we could not buy a bite there, but I mean, Fryock wasn't too far away. I think one part of the day, I don't know if he was fishing them on timber or if he was fishing them hoping. Friday we kind of came up behind him when we were working into that pocket and stayed away from, you know, close to the bank on this one area. We saw some timber spread out. But I looked at the map. He looked like he was fishing a kind of a little bit drop off area. So did watch some of the live yesterday, and it kind of looked like some of them he was catching suspended. So we stayed out of his area. I don't know. I think he was fishing the opposite bank we fished Friday morning, based off the live, or he was further back in fishing the same stuff we fished Friday morning on Saturday, but he was getting fish to bite, so. Or he might have even been in the same area. I don't know. I didn't really see him Saturday. But I think there was I'd say 5 or 6 boats over in the area where we're fishing on the South Pool. But it's a big area, so they, it's going to be pretty spread out. Actually, I know Bo was over there, because he said he tried getting in there Friday. Wherever he was trying to come in was pretty shallow, and he couldn't do it. But that's like a lot of us got at least had some experience from fishing it 2 years ago. The red for Wally Marshall seal. What's up, Jordan? Stephen Chaney, obviously, I honestly, I think crappie are inherently lazy. I think bigger crappie are really lazy. And I don't know if they think bait fish are stupid. I mean, honestly, I think, I don't know. I don't know if bigger crappie know that they can suck in a bait without having to hit it really hard, or I mean, honestly, I think if you're a predator and your prey was sitting there right in front of your face, you'd probably think that prey was pretty stupid. But I don't know. I mean, I've seen certain times a year, and it happened when we won the Classic at Lake Hartwell, where those black crappie would just turn up on the bait and sit there. And I've seen it here in Kansas where the crappie would pick out a single shad and just sit there underneath it. And I'm like, why hasn't he hit it? Why didn't he go? I mean, it's an easy meal. Being opportunistic. You try to get that meal as soon as you can, and they just sit there, and then a lot of times that shad would just kind of jerk just a little bit, and that crappie would just nose back down and swim off. Like, he's still there, but so I almost think a lot of times they're just lazy fish. I guess kind of, that's why I watch bass, because, I think watching other species fishing kind of gives you some ideas of what the species you fishing for might kind of be like too. And, watching bass tournaments and stuff, you see those fish, just sitting there, and, the guys are like, oh my gosh, I don't know why it's not biting, and they got a worm or a jig or something, that they're trying to entice that bass to bite, and they're not doing nothing. It's the same thing. Lazy attitudes, I guess. I don't know. But then obviously with this tournament, you had the river rising 2.5 feet, muddy, really muddy, current, and a cold front. So, I mean, you had pretty much everything you could throw at them, and obviously that's going to mess it up. I mean, I think Hayden talked about that Saturday during the live feed, where, you know, crappie don't like change. Scott, I'm not fishing Old Hickory because that's the same weekend as ACT Championship. So I'll be fishing Sardis that weekend, I believe. Clint, my next stop is Grenada for ACT. I'll be down there fishing by at least next Tuesday. So ACT Grenada's in 2 weekends. I don't know what they have for marshals yet, but you know, if you want to get on somebody's boat and see how they go about catching as many fish as they can in an 8-hour day, you know, now's your chance. It seemed like a lot of the marshals had fun, so especially if you get on Hayden's boat when he's catching over 100 plus fish a day. Where'd you hear about that, Nick? One of my marshals talking to you? It's only been 3 people. It's been one of the 2 marshals or Cliff. Thanks, Jeff. I don't know. I think when those fish are finicky, like where we were fishing at Darbone, I mean, I guess Stan Cypers and Hayden and some of the other teams had no problem getting the fish to bite. We still had to work for those fish to bite. And I think it's the same thing I was talking about, being lazy. I think if you get if you're using minnows, I think if you get a lot of movement on a minnow and those fish are lazy or just not committed, I think that kind of makes that fish not want to try to go go after that minnow. And I think tearing off the tails of the minnow will keep them from doing that side-to-side movement. And, yeah, I mean, obviously when they're in the hook and they're moving side-to-side, you know, I mean, I'm imagining to a fish that looks like that minnow's ready to dart off. You know, he's already active. He's getting ready to bolt. And I think when you tear that back tail off, it actually keeps that minnow from, even if they are moving side to side, they don't have that big fan of that tail moving water and getting more side to side. But I don't know. And I don't know if it worked or not, but that's what I was doing out there on Darbone. And I guess it was good enough for 6th place. I'm going to give my dog my last of my pizza. Yeah, I mean, I've heard people squashing them, killing them, you know, throwing them on the ground. I think Josh or Matthew, I think. What's it? Hang on, man. I believe it was one of them talking about throwing it on the ground and killing them. I've heard people cutting them in half, you know, on short strike fish. Yeah, I don't know. It's a lot of different ways to try to catch a crappie. I think a lot of it just dealing with being positive and having confidence in what you're doing. Yeah, I hardly ever use minnows in tournaments. You know, it's usually Cliff or one of my other partners that's using minnows, and Darbone, that's all I used was minnows. Cliff was using the Pro Tough baits. So I felt more confident for that tournament, Darbone, using live bait. You know, obviously, if they didn't allow live bait or whatever, then I would have used something different. But I don't know. As long as they're going to use live bait, I'm going to use it possibly if I have to. But yeah, normally I waste probably whatever 20 something bucks on a pound of minnows to maybe use 2 throughout the day. I mean, I really thought Red River during pre-fishing you probably need to use. It would have been nice to have live bait for the tournament, but end up during tournament, I think the biggest thing was that sun came out, and I think it helped out a lot. What's up, Mark? But yeah, so we've had 2 tournaments, and I think they've been pretty good. Yeah, Hayden moves very fast. I mean, he's young. He's gotten to practice it a lot. Yeah, I don't know. I used to move about at least a mile and a half. I don't seem to be able to move that fast anymore. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the updates. I really feel, 2019, I was moving at least a mile and a half with a 9-inch screen. And I just think the picture was a lot better back then. I don't know if I need to go ahead and try to not run my stuff so hot. And just try to go back to try to hopefully imitate the picture I used to have back in 2019. I don't know if it's possible. I don't know if the updates have ruined that. But yeah, I used to run at least a mile and a half. Actually, when we won Lake Fork, I was excited because one of the days we pre-fished, it seemed like all the fish were suspended. And I was so excited. I was like, man, if this stays this way, we're going to win this tournament. Because that's how I learned live scope was chasing suspended fish. And live scope was still new, and not too many people were doing that. They'd see fish on the tree and they get excited and fish like that. Well, I learned on a lake with not much structure, so. But yeah, I got to figure something out because obviously these ACT tournaments, I think speed is definitely key for that. Not only being in the right area with a bunch of fish, but I think being able to speed from fish to fish, it just saves time and gives you more time to get more fish in the boat. What's up, Mr. Bob? Looks like the catfish tournament's going pretty good. I watched, I don't know what group live feed or something about, looked like they had 4 or 5 cat fishermen talking about sponsorships, pro staff, stuff like that. I thought it was very good. What's up, Mr. Tracy Davis? John Ray. Yeah, Clint, I'm not going to Darbone for Crappie Masters. We have a show. We have the Catfish and Crappie Conference in Louisville, Kentucky, I believe. Yep, Catfish Crappie Conference in Louisville, Kentucky. I believe that's same day, same week as Darbone Crappie Masters, 24th, 25th. So we'll be there. All right, see you there, Bob. And then, so yeah, I got ACT Grenada next week. Then the Catfish Crappie Conference, and then the first National Crappie League Open Tournament, Alabama River. Should be interesting. That'll be my second time there. And then after that, Crappie Masters. First Crappie Masters will be Grenada in March. And right now I only have 3 Crappie Master tournaments on schedule. Grenada, Lake Fork, and Truman. Which are usually the biggest. Well, Darbone, we'll see what Darbone does. I mean, it should draw quite a bit of people too. I mean, it drew 118 teams last year. But I won't be going until, I think I'm going to Dart. Oh, no, we just had Darbone. Actually in June, I might be going to Darbone for Crappie USA. Because the way my schedule is, I can't hit. I mean, I really wanted to go and fish Harding and try to redeem myself this weekend for Crappie USA, but I'll be gone 2 weeks, and if I would have went to Harding this weekend, that would have put me at 11 weeks gone. So after this week, I'll be gone for 8 weeks. I won't be back till Easter Sunday. So I gotta try to get a bunch of stuff done here, try to get the bait shops for HH, and try to get my taxes together, try to spend time with my wife and my dog. There, I built it. She missed me. I think my wife missed me too. No, she did. Yeah, Bobby Johnson. That was Clay Gann. I've never seen that before. Pretty interesting. You know, I guess I believe people will be trying it. I heard he was probably the best one they liked seeing on the live, and you know, Clay's a great guy, great fisherman, and I'm sure he's a great guide and a great instructor and teacher. And you could kind of see that with him talking on the live feed, explaining everything they were doing. But yeah, that would have been Clay Gann. Kind of same concept I was doing, but I just do it holding the rod with my hand. Just kind of like flinch your muscles to where they shake. Yep, John Ray. I'll definitely be those for Crappie Masters, Fork, and Truman. I'll be at Truman for other things too, I believe. Yeah, we got Crappie Masters Elites September on Truman. But yeah, let's see what. Resume. I'll have to count how many tournaments I plan on fishing. But I only have 2. I have to see how you got to qualify for Crappie USA Classic, because right now I only have 2 Crappie USA tournaments on my schedule. So I'm hoping Darbone and then a super event on Kentucky Barkley, because I can't even make the mega on Kentucky Barkley where we got second last year. But so I'm hoping, and then super events in September, so that's already late in the season. I really hope I can get qualified Crappie USA Darbone in June. But if not, I have to look again, but I think I might have to go to Ohio, fish St. Mary's Really don't want to drive that far. But my goal this year is to qualify for all 5 championships. Even though the National Crappie League won't be until next year. But I'd like to fish, Crappie Masters, ACT, Crappie USA, Crappie Masters Elites, and the National Crappie League Championship. Oh, look at it. Good. Watch it. Get it. Got the baby crying. I don't know if you can hear the baby crying or not. Yeah, I think that's where the live feed is going to draw a lot more viewership, Jeff, is if the guys that have the live feeds will talk. I don't know what they're planning on doing with the GoPros. We got a GoPro day 2 since we were top 10. And we tried to talk to it and explain things. Same thing. So hopefully, and the production's been pretty good where they've been playing, they'll put together 2-minute clips to help out with sponsorships and stuff like that the companies that pay sponsorships to the trails. So I am sponsored by Beatdown, K9, Fisherman's Haven. So if you guys are looking for a 2 or 3 minute clip, then look through my GoPro on Saturday. Just letting you know, LJ, Blake. No, I mean, I like being on live. I'd like to be on live, but I don't know what happened, miscommunication or something. So HH didn't get sponsored, and I don't know how they picked the live stuff between the sponsorships. Obviously, Craig Nichols, he was one of the first ones with Fisherman Haven. He's done a lot for Fisherman's Haven, and so obviously, very deserving. A great fisherman, a past national champion, very deserving in getting the live feed day 1. But I don't know how they picked the GoPros or live or anything for that. I think day 2, obviously, if I'm in first or second or something, there's a good chance I get a live feed. But that's very hard to do in this this group of guys, 46 teams. We've seen it here on the Red River this weekend, how tough it is to compete against all these guys. Like I said, I mean, you got your standard Crappie Masters crowd, and then you throw in some of the ACT guys with, which a lot of them, besides Kyler Beckman, he's been fishing ACT solely last couple of years. But, Brian Young's fished Crappie Masters. Tony Hughes is a fish Crappie Masters, so some of them have. Then you got Shiloh Sheppel that's mainly fished Crappie USA the last few years. He's fished a couple Crappie Masters. Last year he fished a couple. So you're getting a lot of the better anglers from all different trails. And then we should have had even more, but just the way things go. I thought the Mans were signed up, but some of the teams had to drop due to unexpected work commitments or the way the economy's going. I mean, it would have been nice to see at least top 5 teams from all 3 trails joining in and fishing. And it's the first year. I can't remember what Blake said, but I think there's going to be a cutoff you got to hit for Angler of the Year, and then people that fish the other trails can move up and have a chance to do it. There's also talk about expanding it because of the boat incentive requirements. So most of your top tier payouts for boat incentives to win a tournament is usually 60 teams. So there's a possibility he can move it up to 60 teams next year for the elites. And so people can get qualified if they win a tournament. They get extra money from their boat sponsors. And it'll even open it up more for more anglers that, for whatever reason, didn't fish this year in elites to be able to fish next year. I like what he did day 2 of bringing on Justin Smart and Nick DeWolf. I thought that was pretty cool. It added an angler perspective. You know, I mean, Blake's fished bass in college, you know, did very well. But, you know, I think a lot of viewers and anglers just see him more as the tournament owner. And I really don't know the experience he has in crappie fishing, but, you know, you get guys that that are fishing the trails out there talking and knowing most of us and have been fished around us and stuff like that. You know, I think it provides a little bit more entertainment. Yep, Jeff. No, there wasn't any HH teams on live feed. I think day 1 it was Craig Nichols, Clay Gann, and Robert Carlisle. And day 2 it was Fryock, Hayden, and Lamar. Yeah, Bobby, he wanted people to text if they could. Some of the parts of the river didn't have very good signal. You know, we didn't, like I said, we didn't text till 12:14 on day 1. That was because we just weren't catching fish. And, you know, 12:14 was the first text, and we only had 4 fish. You know, over 5 hours into the tournament, we only got 4 fish. You know, I was really worried that we wouldn't weigh in 7 on day 1 until we made that move. And then I stopped it at like 10 something. Because, you know, I don't know what he was going to do. I didn't know if he was going to update live like that until after Friday. And I went back and watched some of it and listened to some of it and seeing that, you know, he had actually mentioned me and stuff, and me and Cliff, and how we had, you know, went from 4 pounds and up to 1080 in 45 minutes or 30 minutes. And then Cliff asked me if he updated after we caught that 1 7 2 pound. I said nope, because I know, you know, even with the Bass Masters, and I didn't know when they're going to stop the feed, but you watch Bass Elites, and you know they stop doing the live stuff, providing updates and everything, you know, like the last hour and a half or 2 hours. So I think that's what draws a lot of the suspense. You know, I mean, we had 1080 on our scale, you know, last update at 12:45, and then you know, we ended up with 1180 something on our scale. So we upgraded, you know, about a pound after that. And then of course, you know, I mean, our scales always way lighter than the tournament scales. And so, you know, last update you got, day 1, we had 1188, and then we come in, or 1088, and we come in with 1266 for the official weight. And then it was hard not updating on Saturday because we had over 10 pounds at 8:30. So hour and a half into it, we already had, you know, pound and a half less than what we caught on day 2. So I really thought we had a chance to catch 14 pounds on day 2 going that fast. But it just is what it is. We had a 150 something to a 182 on our scale. And we just could not get a kicker fish or 2 to upgrade those. So, I mean, I think a couple 2-pounders. I think a couple 2-pounders would have put us in 3rd place. and we probably had at least two 2-pounders hooked, and they come off. But you saw with the live how some of them wouldn't bite, and some of them they missed, and Lamar had a couple break off, and it's just what it is. But thanks, Jeff. Yeah, Nick did a good job. I think Justin skipped the tournament to come out and talk, or pre-fishing or something. Now it would have been Saturday, so yeah, I think he skipped the tournament to come and do that. Definitely appreciate those guys doing that. I mean, obviously the more viewerships and the more interactions we have for the trails, the bigger they can become, which should translate into more payouts for the anglers and bigger and better sponsorships. I mean, if I go to a sponsor and be like, hey, I fished this trail, they got 2 million views throughout the year, that only helps me with the sponsorships. And I think Jeff was saying there was like 800 people or something watching at one time on the live. So, I think that's pretty good. I don't know what the stats are in the past of doing the live weigh-ins, but to have 800 people watching the live feed at one time, I think is very great for crappie fishing. And I only see it growing from there. I mean, this was a very tough tournament. There was a lot of times it reminded me of the Bass Masters, the Bass Elites, catching your 5 fish and, people going out there and throwing a worm and jigging it or slowly rolling it by, hoping there's a bass there where they dropped it at. And just having to listen to the commentators because there's no action. That's kind of what the Red River was like with how finicky these fish was. But I think Eufaula should be great. That's in March. I think the March on Eufaula, I think the fish catching is going to be great, which is going to provide a lot more action on the live feeds. If we can get these guys to update constantly. Eufaula's a big lake, so it's probably going to be the same, where there's going to be areas where you don't get good phone signal. I'm trying to think of where I normally fish, if we had phone service down there or not. I think we did. It's kind of close to the town. I think it's just depending on where you're at on the water. If you got a lot of obstructions. But, us as anglers, we got to play our part. And I think, providing those updates, is playing our part to doing this live feed. And then, of course, sharing stuff, I shared my thoughts on the live feed for day 2 about Hayden and, where actually the Red River, made him look at least halfway normal human being instead of, everybody thinking he's part fish or something. And it was good. To me, it was good to see it as an angler, to see him having difficulties catching fish too. Because you don't know, you're competing against him. You're not in the boat with him. You don't see it. You don't see those times that he misses a fish or he messes up, So you just think that with the amount of the ratio that he's won in the last year plus, that you're just, as an angler, you just think every time he sees a fish, he drops on and catches it. And when you're not doing that, it can play in your mental game. Obviously I'm older, I'm 45, I have a lot of issues from the military. You know, I got 20 something ratings on my disability. You know, obviously not in the shape that I used to be. And so things are a little bit more physically challenging for me. Plus, you know, I gave up drinking caffeine, and so now I got to find my energy from other sources. So you go out there pre-fishing for 3 days in rain when it's in the 30s. You know, I mean, that really plays on your physical and your mental capabilities. But I really think it was positive for the sport to see really both of them, Hayden and Lamar, having issues, and seeing that, you know, just because fishermen do really great, that we're still human, and we still make mistakes, and still have trouble catching the fish no matter what kind of electronics we have. And I think it's great for your everyday angler or fisherman too. You know, not just the tournament guys, but you know, I think you know, somebody that just goes fishing on the weekends and they tune in, and you know, they've heard of Hayden Jeffries and what he's done last year, winning, you know, $250,000, and then they watch a live feed and they're like, oh well, you know, he's just normal too. You know, I mean, he's not catching those dinosaurs like I thought he would. So yeah, I think it's great for the sport. And so we'll see. You know, I think Eufaula will be a great live feed tournament. Things I heard was, you know, they liked it when other people came on to the set. And, you know, you had that commentary interaction between more than one person. You know, I mean, it was hard. I understand it. It'd definitely be hard to talk for 6 hours and provide updates and try to sound exciting, especially with how tough the bite was on Red River. So, you know, Blake had everything going against him doing the live feeds there. And then, you know, I just having that extra person, you know, I think it would have been 100 times better just have another person to ask questions on, you know, what they thought the anglers were feeling out there. You know, somebody that was experienced and has been there before and had to deal with all that stuff. Just like we saw on day 2, you know, with Justin Smart and Nick DeWolf. You know, I think that just increased the entertainment value, having more than one person talking. You know, I'm hoping in the future they can get people that aren't fishing the elites to come in and do that. You know, there's plenty of people in Oklahoma that's not fishing the elites that could probably show up and do commentary with Blake. And so Blake, I would suggest going out there and finding somebody at each of these elite tournaments that's not fishing the elites and asking them if they wouldn't mind coming on the live show. I think that'll increase the viewership. You know, you guys can even advertise it and promote it. You know, hey, Crappie Masters Elite's Lake Eufaula. Blake Jackson's going to be oh, how do you say it? Accompanied by or met by so-and-so angler to provide commentary for the live feed. So, I mean, you can have big names, you know. Ask John Godwin if he can come up, or, you know, somebody like that. So, I think National Crappie League's going to try doing some stuff like that too. So we'll find out in March for the NCL on Alabama River. I believe it's March 4th through 5th. so I'll provide updates on that. I actually got to call them and ask them so I can do a live feed and provide updates for National Crappie League too. It's got the champ on. Matthew still on here. Mrs. Katie Jeffries. She's always at all the tournaments, cheering on her son and husband. Always positive and talks to us anglers. So it's very great. And that's awesome. You know, I wish, I don't know, I can't say that I don't. I mean, I guess I wouldn't change anything, you know, being in the military. You know, I had fun. I got to travel the world and see the world. I got to see that United States of America is the best place to live. No matter what the media or government says, what's going on in our society. You're going to have that in every country you go to. But, you know, I think the freedoms we have with the Constitution and the Bill of Rights is the best. Is the best out of all the countries I've visited, and I've lived in Europe for 4 years, and lived in South Korea for a year. Did all kinds of deployments and TDYs all over different other countries. And we definitely live in the best place, but it would have been nice to be 20-something years old and gotten into tournament fishing. But, and then especially having your family involved in it. So I'm hoping I can get some sponsorships at some point to where my wife can travel with me and be able to hang out and actually get to watch. I don't even remember the last time she's actually been to a weigh-in and seen me weigh in. But yeah, I'm hopefully here in a couple years. Got some things that could be pretty exciting in the works for sponsorships for me. See Eddie's on here. I just signed up with Fisherman's Haven as a sponsor. So I'll make a post later. I thought I posted it, but I don't think I did, with the new stickers on my boat and truck. And I got 1 or 2 more sponsors in the work. I'm trying to wait to see if I get them, so I get new jerseys made. One sponsorship can actually be pretty huge. Corporate guys are supposed to be calling me later this week to discuss, to give me the options. But that's the thing with fishing tournaments and looking for sponsorships too, is it might not work out for me depending on what they present to me, because I already have some other sponsorships that it's going to affect. And I've always been that guy that's wanting to stick to somebody that's taking a chance on me, wanting to stick with them and not go somewhere else. You know, making that commitment. And but at the same time, you know, I mean, just like Kevin Van Dam, you know, was with Lowrance forever. You know, I'm thinking this already, and I haven't even talked to the corporate guys. And I'm thinking, like, man, I mean, the time and the decision that he had to make to leave Lowrance to go to Minn Kota Humminbird had to be very stressful and had to be one of the toughest decisions of his life as far as the bass world goes. So, but I'm excited. You know, I'm sure most tournament anglers have heard about this board we have set up and this organization we're trying to commit, or trying to organize and get going. And I'll tell you, it's moving along pretty good. I mean, obviously, it's taken a little bit more time than probably a lot of us wanted to, but we got to try to get the best we can get it when we roll it out. And but we have a lot of companies. Talked to somebody today that said there was a few companies that were very excited about what we're doing and thought we needed to do this 10 to 20 years ago. So that makes me happy, you know, when companies, and these are some of the guys that are competing companies and my sponsors. But you know, to hear that, it definitely excites me, because that means we're moving in the right direction, and we're trying to grow the sport of crappie fishing. You know, obviously we have some people that are still negative about it. People outside the industry, and we got anglers that, you know, I mean, I've always heard you're not going to make a living crappie fishing. Maybe that's true, maybe it's not. You know, I mean, a lot of my money's coming from working for HH. So I'm working for the company, but I do have pretty good sponsorships that helps me compete, you know, 20 plus tournaments a year. That's what I was actually going to do, count these up. So right now in 2023, I have 23 tournaments on a national level I'm fishing. I'm supposed to cut down, which I guess right now I've cut down 7 tournaments this year, since I fished 30 last year. But it might be 24 if I got to add Crappie USA St. Mary's on the list. But I'm excited for it. You know, I mean, obviously I could stay home and guide. And, you know, I did the math last year. I was gone exactly 190 days. I was gone tournament fishing. And if I would have missed 10 of those tournaments, let's say 80 days of the year, and if I would have guided 60 days of that time, you know, 10 tournaments, about $2,000 a tournament. There's 20,000. 60 days of guiding, there's about 24,000. So I would have, you know, had a plus side of $44,000 last year. So, but I'm doing this. I love competing against these guys. Competition's always been in my blood. I've tried to give 110% every time I've competed in a sport. And, you know, I know one of these days I'm just going to be too old or too broke down or too whatever to really be that competitive in the sport. So I want to do this while I'm young, and you know, I always know that I can still do these lives. I can still you know, be an asset to the sport of crappie fishing. You know, obviously I try to have a positive attitude when I talk to people. Try to provide information to anglers. Whether you're the weekend fisherman or whether you're a fellow tournament fisherman. You know, obviously with Nick asking the question about tearing the tails off the minnows, you know, kind of give information out since I first started learning stuff. And that just goes to show the guys that came before me, and a lot of them are still fishing, you know, I mean, you know, I learned to tie my double minnow rigs by watching a video from Dan Dannemuller for Crappie Now video. I sat there in Bass Pro for the Crappie Madness and listened to Kevin Rogers speak. And, you know, there's so many other fishermen that I've interacted when I first started tournament fishing that, you know, now I see that, you know, they provide that information when they didn't have to. You know, they could have kept it to themselves and tried to keep an advantage over other anglers, but they're willing to share their knowledge and their expertise with a nobody. And, you know, that's what I was when I first started fishing, you know, at 30-something years old, getting into tournament fishing. And, you know, even on the local trails, you know, that's talking to the local anglers and trying to learn tournament fishing in Kansas, and their willingness to talk to me and provide information and discuss how they did good in the tournament. That's a big maybe, Ryan, but yes, I might be up there. Be my first tournament in Ohio. I actually need to see when that is and check, make sure, because the National Crappie League added a new tournament on Toledo Bend. But yeah, so I'll plug them right now. So National Crappie League, their first open tournament. They have some Division 1s, but I do not qualify to fish Division 1s because I've won over $5,000. So you can check out Division 1s if you don't meet that status of, I think they have guides too. But if you meet the qualification Division 1s, you can go to nationalcrappieleague.com, check out Division 1 schedule. But I'm only qualified to fish the Open, so the first tournament of the year for National Crappie League is on the Alabama River, March 4th and 5th, Saturday and Sunday. So come out there, check it out. You know, we fished the Alabama River first time last year for ACT, and we got 6th place. Seems like last year and this year, a lot of 5th and 6th places for me. Let me just check, make sure. I know National Crappie League, I believe they're all going to be Saturday and Sundays, except Lake of the Ozarks. And that's because that's Easter weekend, so they got to have it Friday and Saturday. Yeah, so National Crappie League, Alabama River, off limits February 18th through 24th. Which is good. I'll be fishing Grenada, and then I'll have the Catfish Crappie Conference. And the first day of pre-fishing is the 25th, which I'll still be at the Catfish Crappie Conference. And you can pre-fish till 4:30 p.m. on March 3rd, Friday. And then they'll have a registration meeting. Will be that Friday at Millbrook Civic Center in Millbrook, Alabama, from 5 to 6 for sign-in, and the meeting's at 6 p.m. Weigh-in's going to be at Cooter's Pond, and I believe it's going to be a blast-off from Cooter's Pond. So, I don't know if there's any place to fill up your gas tank, but I know Chris Fuller and Richard Folk ran out of gas on day 2 by driving all up and down the river. I heard they had a pretty good sack. So, you know, those blast-offs make you really think of other things besides fishing. You know, I mean, Mr. Crappie Tournament makes you think about, do you have enough gas to go to one spot and come back, or go to one spot and if the fish ain't there, to go back to another one. So, let me check out Crappie USA. So Grand Lake St. Mary's, it's a super event, April 21st, 22nd. No, I can't go to that one. They changed the dates on that? That's ACT Sardis, so I don't even know what I was thinking. I was going to be able to make that. Yeah, maybe Green River. They're right next to each other, so I might have messed up the dates. But I might have to go to Green River in May. I might go ahead and do that anyways. And they give me 3 tournaments. I gotta look at the rules and see what you can do qualifying. Really don't see it. Yeah, if anybody in the know, Crappie USA, of what you got to do to qualify for the classic, I'll try to get a hold. I'll try to get a hold of Blake. You know, obviously he owns the trail now, so it could be different rules. I think last year you had to finish top 2 at a local event, or like top 10 or 15 at a mega bucks event. And I don't know what super events are. But, you know, if I got to qualify, you know, my first tournament's not till the last local event in June. And then the last event in Kentucky Barkley in September. So I might have to try to fish the super event in May to try to get qualified. You know, it's obviously nice to get qualified for the classic at the first tournament you fish. It you know, makes it a lot less stressful. Not even paying attention to comments. Let's see what we got going on here. So one thing I got to do better on is when I do these live feeds is find a way to see the comments on here. I've got 55 comments. It's pretty awesome. Well, Scott Syke, looks like I won't be at St. Mary's. I think I had looked at the wrong line when I looked across St. Mary's, and I had it for, what did I say, Green River? Yeah, Green River. I don't think it's much difference in the drive, but I got ACT Sardis that week as Grand Lake St. Mary's. So I will not be able to make that. I really wanted to make the local event Lake Cumberland, since that's where the classic's going to be. But if I do get qualified for Crappie USA Classic, I'll be going to Lake Cumberland blind. But I've heard some good fish come from there. Black crappie. No. Well, I should have really went there last November, but I should have fished there before the weekend before Del Hollow, but it's fine. It's only so much time in a year, and plenty of tournaments to fish. I don't know, a lot of people say there's too many tournament trails and this and that. I think it provides tournaments for, I think if there's less trails, you would have guys that wouldn't fish at all because of work schedule or, not wanting to compete against certain guys. So you got, Crappie USA that's still got the amateur division. Now you got the National Crappie League that has your Division One tournaments. So those are the tournaments where obviously the guys that don't fish very often can sign up and compete really well in. And then you got other things. There's only so much time you can fish and so many days that if you only had two or three two national trails. Now you're limited the time, and they could be scheduled on something very important, that people couldn't make it to. So, we all have our lives, and obviously our family and our daily life comes first before tournament fishing. It's just a sport, but I think having all these trails, it just provides more opportunities for more anglers to be able to fish. But that's my thoughts on it. So they are pretty much staying the same then as years past. I thought maybe Blake would change that to kind of match, same for all the trails. But it is what it is. So looks like I got one local event, Darbone. I got to get a top 3 in, which a couple of years ago we got second, so there's always hope. And then we got second at the mega event last year, but I'm fishing 2 super, so looks like I got to get a top 10 at Kentucky Barkley or the Green River. And I know those are pretty good showings for Crappie USA normally. So it's going to be a challenge, but I think those are the only 3 tournaments I can make for Crappie USA. So I'll have to be on my A game. Yeah, Bobby, I hear you. It'd be nice, that's the thing that a lot of anglers just doesn't realize. It's a business, and if tourism doesn't want to pay out, it's hard to have tournaments at certain lakes. Obviously, if tournament, if more lakes around Indiana, Ohio, a lot of fishermen are up from there, especially in the Crappie USA side. If they're willing to, tourism and local business willing to put in the money, then, you'd have more tournaments up there. The land for St. John's River, they put out the money. Before live scope and all that, they would have probably around 30, 40 teams show up. It's along the previous 2 owners for Blake was from Missouri. So that's a long trip to be hauling your gear and stuff. And, they local tourism and companies would sponsor enough to make it worthwhile for them to travel down, even though they'd get 30 or 40 teams to show up. And that's what you gotta look at as far as not having tournaments at certain lakes. I would think the tourism would be looking at places like Watchtower River and Darbone and Grenada and Truman and see that these towns are sponsoring these trails every year, sometimes multiple times a year, to have these tournaments there, that, you know, it'd make these other towns and other states like, hey man, maybe it's worthwhile to spend that money to get that tourism in and to get us known. I mean, I don't think Darbone was very well known until Crappie Masters had their first tournament in there, and same with the Watchtower River. I think ACT was actually the first one to go there, and then Crappie Master joined in, and then even Crappie USA had a regional event there 2 years ago there at Ouachita. And then, you know, obviously Grenada's had tournaments there for as long as I can remember. I mean, my first year there was 2013 National Championship. You know, really my first year fishing national tournaments. So, Jeff. I do need a net man for Crappie Masters and Crappie USA, but right now I plan on fishing them both by myself, so we'll see. Oh, I think I went backwards. Yeah, Jeff, fishing ain't supposed to be stressful, but when you put the money into it, and when you're a competitor, it's stressful no matter what. I mean, I guess if I was a millionaire, I wouldn't stress so much about it. It wouldn't really matter too much. But there's a chance I probably wouldn't be as competitive as I am. You know, competing against a lot of these guys, because I just wouldn't probably put in the effort. But, you know, I mean, it doesn't matter if I got free entries or free lodging or what have you. You know, I'm still spending money to get there and compete. And so to me, you know, it does have some stress to it. And, you know, the competitive side in me, you know, wants me to beat all the top anglers we have. You know, whether I'm considered a top angler or not. You know, I know you always hear about Matthew Rogers and Hayden Jeffries and Josh Jones and Lamar Bunning and Eric Cagle and all them. And so, you know, that competitiveness inside of me wants me to go out there and try to beat them on a day-to-day basis. But yeah, so to recap, last two tournaments was pretty fun. You know, pre-fishing, not so fun on Ouachita. Tournament days were actually really probably, you know, full tournament day. You know, the afternoon, last 2.5 hours on day one and the first 5 hours on day two were great. The rest of those times was stressful and frustrating. And it was pretty weird how you go just total opposites from each day as far as catching fish and then struggling. But like I said, day one we didn't get to spot till around noon, so there's no telling what those fish were doing for the first 5 hours. Wish we'd have moved sooner. But then day two, wish we'd have moved sooner after the morning bite. Really wish we'd have moved up to pole 5 and fished in with the crowd and maybe got one of those dinosaurs to bite and moved up a spot or two. But with that, I don't see any more questions. Well, Jeff, if you want to be my net man for Crappie Masters and come down to Grenada, March 10th and 11th. But heck, you question whether you want to go to Lake Fork, man. Hey, you come down to Grenada, man, I'll let you hold an 18-foot rod or my war pig, and I'll get you on some of these big fish. But with that, I guess I'm going to get off here. It's 10:30. My wife just got home a little bit ago. You can hear my dog was whining, so I haven't seen her in 2 weeks, so I'm going to spend time with her. And I got some stuff to do. I got to get some stuff over to beat down. And I got to figure out what the heck I'm doing. I got a lot of stuff I got to do. But it was pretty cool getting our first check of the year. So like I said, we got 6th place the last 2 tournaments. Darbone, we missed paycheck by 2 spots. And then obviously we got a paycheck here at the Elites. They're paying the top 10. Bad thing about getting 6th place at both tournaments, we missed out on plaques for both tournaments. They only give them to the top 5. So that kind of stinks, but you know what that means. I got to try harder and and try to be consistently in the top 5. And then I can guarantee, well, can't guarantee, but most likely get a paycheck and a plaque. And then obviously every time I go out and fish, you know, I'm got the mindset of winning the tournament and putting another trophy up on the wall. But thank you, Bobby. You have a good evening too. Jeff, I'll talk to you later this week. All right, thank you guys. Bye.